everybody. So I've got a couple of fun books to share today by Robert Munsch. Our Zoom meeting this morning reminded me that lots of us losing teeth, and so it made me have the idea of reading about Andrew's loose tooth. I think we've read this story in class, but lots of you are losing your front teeth, and so it reminded me of this story. So we're going to read two books by Robert Munsch. Both of them were written by Robert Munsch. He is the author, and both of them were illustrated by the same illustrator. His name is Michael Marchenko, and he works with Robert Munsch a lot. A lot of the stories that we've read by Robert Munsch are illustrated by Michael Marchenko. The first one is called Andrew's Loose Tooth, and it goes like this. When Andrew came downstairs, there were 3 big red apples right on the middle of the table. And even though he had a loose tooth, he decided to eat an apple. So he reached out, picked up an apple, shined it on his shirt, took a bite, and yelled, "Yow! Mommy, do something about this tooth. It hurts so much I can't even eat my apple." So Andrew's mother opened up his mouth and looked inside and said, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, it's a loose tooth. I know what to do." So she took hold of the tooth with both hands and pulled as hard as she could. But the tooth did not come out. "Oh, Andrew," she said, "I just can't get that tooth out. Why don't you try another apple? That might make your tooth come out." So Andrew reached out, picked up an apple, shined it on his shirt, took a bite, and yelled, "Yow! Daddy, do something about this tooth. It hurts so much I can't even eat my apple." So Andrew's father opened up his mouth and looked inside. "Oh, he said, "it's a loose tooth. I know what to do." He got a big pair of pliers, and he took hold of Andrew's tooth, and then he put his foot on Andrew's nose and pulled as hard as he could. He put his other foot on the other side of Andrew's nose, and he pulled as hard as he could. But the tooth did not come out. "Oh, Andrew," he said, "that tooth is not going to come out. Why don't you try another apple? That will make your tooth come out." So Andrew reached out, picked up an apple, shined it on his shirt, took a bite, and yelled, "Yow! Mommy, Daddy, do something about this tooth. It hurts so much I can't even eat my apple." So they called the dentist. The dentist came in a shiny black car. He opened up Andrew's mouth. He looked inside and he said, Ooh, it's a loose tooth. I know what to do." He got a big long rope and he tied one end to Andrew's tooth. Andrew said, "I know what you're going to do. I know what you're going to do. You're going to tie the other end of the rope to the door, and then you're going to slam the door." "Nope," said the dentist. "I'm going to tie it to my car." He tied the other end of the rope to his car and drove away as fast as he could. When he got to the end of the rope, his whole car, poof, fell apart. The dentist stood there holding just the steering wheel. Then Andrew's mother and his father and the dentist all said, Andrew, that tooth will not come out. You just can't eat your breakfast." Andrew sat in the front yard looking very sad. His best friend Louis came along and said, "Andrew, what's the matter?" "Oh," said Andrew, "my mother can't get this tooth out. My father can't get this tooth out. The dentist can't get this tooth out. And I can't eat my breakfast." Ooh, said Louis. "I know what to do." So Louis went into Andrew's house and called the tooth fairy on the phone. The tooth fairy roared up right away on a large motorcycle. Andrew looked at the tooth fairy and said, "If you think you are going to use that motorcycle to pull out my tooth, you are nuts." "What do you think I am?" said the tooth fairy. "A dentist?" So she pulled Andrew's tooth with one hand and the tooth did not come out. She pulled Andrew's tooth with two hands and the tooth did not come out. She got a large hammer off her motorcycle and clanged Andrew's loose tooth, and the hammer broke in two pieces. And the tooth still did not come out. Incredible, said the tooth fairy. This is the first tooth ever that I can't pull out. I guess you just can't eat your breakfast. Hold it, said Lewis. I have an idea. So Lewis went into Andrew's house and got a pepper shaker. And he pushed back Andrew's head and he sprinkled pepper right up Andrew's nose. And Andrew went, choo! And he sneezed that tooth all the way across town. So look, there are so many things happening in that picture. If you just look at Andrew's tooth flying across the page, it goes through the man's newspaper, it goes through the bush, it goes through the bagel or the donut, and it just keeps on flying. But the tooth fairy still got her tooth. There she is, flying on her motorcycle with her tooth net to catch that tooth. And then there's Andrew with his best friend Lewis eating all the apples they can because the tooth came out. So that's just a silly, fun story. And then I have another silly, fun story. Smelly Socks, also by Robert Munch, also illustrated by Michael Marchenko. I wonder if any of you ever have a pair of socks or a pair of pants or a shirt that you like so much you just never want to take it off. You want to leave it on all the time. If you have something like that, you're going to be able to understand how Tina feels in this story. Smelly Socks. When Tina wanted new socks, her mom took her to the only store in town. The store only has black socks, said Tina. Can we please go across the river and get some really good socks? Well, we can't drive across the river because there's no bridge, said Tina's mother. You know, it's a long, long, long way to the only bridge. And besides, we don't have a car. So Tina went to her grandfather and said, "Can you please take me across the river in your boat? I want some really good socks." "The motor's not working on the boat," said her grandfather. "Row," said Tina. "We can row. I'll row and you can sit in the back of the boat." "You will row," said her grandfather. "Yes," said Tina. "Rowing is easy." So Tina got in the boat and rowed slowly. Splash, splash, splash. And the boat went in slow circles. Swish, swish, swish. And then Tina rowed fast. Splash, 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 splash. And the boat went in fast circles. Swish, 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 swish. I think this boat has forgotten how to row, said Tina. So her grandfather sat in the front of the boat, and Tina said, "If you sit in the back, you can tell me what to do." So Tina sat in the back and told her grandfather how to row, and her grandfather rowed all the way across the river, and then they walked all the way through the town to the big sock store. Now, if you look in the background of this picture, meaning the foreground of a picture is what you can see most clearly, what's closest to you. The background is what you look at when you're looking for all the details that are not as easy to see. And if you look in the background, this whole book's falling apart, so I have to hold it carefully. You can see the big sock store. Do you see the big building with a sock on it? Let me make sure. Big building with a sock, and it's the big sock store. At the store, Tina tried on socks that were too big, socks that were too small, socks that were too blue, socks that were too pink. She tried on millions and millions of socks. Finally, she found a perfect pair of red, yellow, and green socks. And then Since it was almost time for dinner, Tina and her grandfather ran back to the boat. And this time the boat sort of remembered how to row. Tina rowed round and round and round and round and still made it to the other side. When they got back, Tina ran home and yelled, "Socks, socks, wonderful socks. These are the best socks I've ever seen in my entire life. Grandpa rowed me all the way across the river to get these socks, and I am never taking them off." "Never?" said Tina's mother. "Never," said Tina. "Uh-oh," said Tina's mother. "Think about what would happen if you wore the same socks and never took them off. Think about that. What might happen?" So Tina wore her socks for a long time. She wore them for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 whole days. And her mother said, "Tina, I know you love those socks. Just let me wash them really quick. They will start to smell if you don't get them washed." "Socks, socks, wonderful socks," said Tina. "I am never, never, never going to take them off." After Tina wore her socks for 10 more days, the kids at school said, "Tina, what a smell. Wash your socks." "Socks, socks, wonderful socks," said Tina. "I am never, 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 never going to take them off." So now you can see that they're starting to get dirty, and you can imagine how they smell. Probably not so great. After Tina wore her socks for 10 more days, a whole flock of Canada geese, flock is a group of geese, flew over her house and dropped, boom, right out of the sky because of the smell. And 2 moose walked through her yard and fell over from the smell. Ducks and raccoons and squirrels fell over when she walked to school. Oh my goodness. Finally, even a skunk fell over from the smell. Tina's friends decided to do something. They all came to her house and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. And when Tina opened the door, they grabbed her and carried her to a river. And then they held their noses and took off her socks. Oh boy, what are they gonna do? You see how they're holding Tina? What do you think they'll do? What is going to happen next? Ah! Some of the kids held Tina and some kids washed the socks. Scrub, 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 scrub. And all the fish in the river floated up to the top and acted like they were dead because the smell of the socks was so bad. The kids washed some more. Scrub, 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 scrub. And all the beavers ran out of the river and went to live with Tina's grandfather. And they washed some more. Scrub, 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 scrub. And far down the river, the people said, "How come the river smells like dirty socks?" You know why the river smells like dirty socks, don't you? Finally, the socks were clean. "Wow," said Tina. "They look nicer when they're clean." "Wow," said Tina. "They smell nicer when they're clean." "Wow," said Tina. "They feel nicer when they're clean." And Tina put on the socks and said, "I am going to wear clean socks from now on." The beavers left her grandfather's house and went back into the river. The Canada geese got up off the ground and flew away. The fish decided that they were not dead after all, and they jumped and splashed in the river. Tina went to her mom and said, "My socks are so nice and clean, and I think it'd be very nice if you took me to town to get me a nice new red, yellow, and green shirt." "Promise to wash it?" said her mom. "No," said Tina. "If I wait long enough, the kids at school will wash it for me." And there's her mom, a big basket of clean laundry. And then, without any words, the last page shows what happened later. There are all of her friends' hands tossing Tina in the river with her dirty, dirty socks, her dirty, dirty sweater, and a little skunk that's looking like it smells bad too. And that's the end. of our silly story day. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.